you think you can solve my case? Not the way people usually mean that. Not with a name scribbled on a suspect list or a dramatic reveal at the end. I mean, can you sit with it? Can you listen without trying to fix me? Without turning my pain into a puzzle? Without rushing to decide who I was instead of hearing who I am? Because before I became a headline, before I became a nickname whispered with fascination and fear, I was just a girl who wanted air in her lungs, warmth on her skin, and a future that didn't disappear every time I trusted it. If you're here to chase a killer, you'll find frustration. If you're here to chase the truth, you'll find something much harder. So, let me ask you again, not as a victim, but as a voice that never got to finish speaking. Are you here to solve my case? Or are you here to understand it? Pause, because that choice changes everything.
The lie that starts everything. Most true crime stories begin with violence. This one begins with a lie. A quiet, ordinary lie told to protect children from pain. In December of 1930, a 6-year-old girl woke up to find her mother crying at the kitchen table. Her father's car had been found abandoned on a bridge. Doors open, keys inside, no note, no body. The explanation was simple. Too simple. He drowned. Except he didn't. And that matters more than people realize. Because when a child grows up believing someone can vanish completely and the world will accept it without proof, it teaches a dangerous lesson. Disappearance is survivable. Elizabeth Short learned early that people can leave, erase themselves, and start over somewhere else, while everyone left behind absorbs the consequences. That lesson would shape every decision she made. A body that wouldn't cooperate. Elizabeth's body never behaved the way it was supposed to. Asthma tightened her chest without warning. Infections lingered, doctors hovered, medical bills stacked. At 15, surgery carved scars across her back marks she would carry long after the pain faded. She learned something important in those hospital beds. Her body was fragile, but her imagination was not. While other girls planned futures rooted in place, Elizabeth planned futures rooted in escape. Somewhere warmer, somewhere brighter, somewhere where breathing didn't feel like drowning. Hollywood wasn't a dream to her, it was oxygen. The Hollywood illusion, and why it worked. Hollywood in the 1940 seconds sold a very specific fantasy. It whispered that beauty was enough. That charm could replace training. That proximity to fame was almost the same as success. And Elizabeth believed it not because she was naive, but because she needed to. People mistake desperation for foolishness. They are not the same thing. Elizabeth learned to survive on stories. She adjusted her past depending on who was listening. A dead father here, a tragic romance there. Illness emphasized or minimized depending on the moment. This wasn't manipulation, it was adaptation. When stability isn't an option, flexibility becomes survival. The pattern nobody wanted to name. Here's something rarely said out loud. Elizabeth didn't drift because she was lost. She drifted because staying meant facing failure. Movement gave her control. New cities meant new narratives. New men meant temporary safety. But there's a cost to that life. When you never stay long enough to build roots, you also never stay long enough for anyone to truly know you. And that makes you vulnerable. The man who should have been dead. When Elizabeth discovered her father was alive after 12 years of absence, it shattered something essential. Not just trust, reality. Because if death itself could be fabricated, what else was negotiable? She didn't reject him. She went to him. That tells you everything about her. She didn't crave revenge. She craved connection, even flawed, even painful. The reunion failed. Of course it did. But once again, Elizabeth learned a lesson. People can rewrite their lives without permission and leave you to deal with the aftermath. Love interrupted. Major Matthew Gordon represented something dangerous. Permanence. For the first time, Elizabeth allowed herself to imagine a future that didn't require escape. And then, days before the war ended, he died. not abandoned, not disappeared, gone. That loss didn't break her, it trained her. From then on, when life hurt too much, she didn't argue with it. She left. The final return to California. By 1946, Elizabeth was tired. Tired of buses, tired of promises, tired of almost. She returned to California not with innocence, but with resolve. This time would be different. And, in a way, it was. She stayed. She waited. She believed. And that belief placed her in the path of someone who understood exactly how invisible she was. The birth of a nickname and the death of a person. Nicknames feel harmless. They're catchy, memorable, easy. But this one did something irreversible. The Black Dahlia, it replaced Elizabeth. The nickname flattened her into an aesthetic. Dark clothes, dark hair, mystery, seduction. No asthma, no surgeries, no childhood loss, just intrigue. And once a woman becomes a symbol, people stop protecting her. Fear replaces drift. In her final weeks, Elizabeth wasn't floating anymore. She was running. Friends noticed it. Unease replaced charm. Silence replaced stories. She said she was hiding. She never said from whom. That omission is one of the most haunting details in this case. 6 days of silence. After she entered the Biltmore Hotel, Elizabeth vanished. No phone calls, no letters, no witnesses. 6 days. 6 days in which something methodical occurred, because what followed was not spontaneous violence. It was procedure, the discovery that broke everything. When the body was found, the damage wasn't just physical, it was symbolic. This wasn't disposal, it was presentation. The positioning, the cleanliness, the symmetry. Someone wanted to be seen. And more importantly, someone wanted to be remembered. When media becomes a weapon, here's the uncomfortable truth. The killer didn't beat the police with intelligence alone. He beat them with attention. Journalists arrived before detectives. Evidence was trampled. Narratives were shaped before facts were known. And the killer learned something crucial. Publicity protects predators. Once details are public, false confessions flood in. Noise overwhelms signal. Investigators chase echoes instead of truth. The case didn't drown in mystery. It drowned in exposure. A killer ahead of his time. The surgical precision shocked investigators. But what should have terrified them more was the foresight. Blood removed, body washed, evidence anticipated. This wasn't someone improvising. This was someone planning for futures that didn't exist yet. And that changes the question. Not who did this, but what kind of world allowed them to succeed. Suspects, shadows, and silence. Over decades, names surfaced. Doctors, morticians, social figures, men with access, men with knowledge. Each fit part of the puzzle. None completed it. Because this case wasn't designed to be solved with fragments, it required something the system didn't yet have. Restraint. The real failure. By the time evidence disappeared, confessions multiplied and politics interfered. The truth was already gone. Not taken. Destroyed. The Black Dahlia case didn't fail because the killer was too smart. It failed because too many people wanted something from it. Fame. Power. Stories. Everyone took a piece until there was nothing left. What this case actually teaches us. This isn't a mystery about a killer. It's a lesson about systems, about how women without stability become invisible, about how media turns tragedy into spectacle, about how early forensic arrogance let brutality walk free. Elizabeth Short wasn't killed twice. She was erased twice. Once by her murderer, and once by the world that refused to see her as anything but a story, letting her speak last. So no, I don't think this case will ever be solved, not in the way people want. But maybe it can still teach us something. That attention isn't justice. That curiosity without empathy is exploitation. And that some mysteries don't ask to be cracked, they ask to be respected. If you stayed until the end, thank you for listening instead of consuming. And maybe that's the closest thing to justice she ever gets.